What's up, guys? I'm gonna give you a quick rundown on packing stuff in case you have to do it should I not be here for any reason. First things first, take your piece. We've got our ran pack here. When you pull it, make sure it's pulled taut so it kind of makes this kind of honeycomb texture going on right here. All right. If it's not quite doing that, there's a little spindle on the side that you can twist, and then it'll tighten it up so that it spreads out more. Place the piece in here. Pull out, fold in as you're sort of rolling it up. And I like to have enough of this ran pack material to where you can't really feel the hard edges or where the hard edges begin and the empty space begins. That's how you know you're onto the right track. I've done a bunch of these previously so that this video is not 27 minutes long. But from there, what you're going to do, come down to where this corrugated cardboard is. I'm going to place it on here. So see, we're rolling it up, basically making like a little burrito. Then we're going to place it back down, roll it up this way, like so. The point of that being is that, especially if you have a package that's got like a bunch of different pots in it, when you do this, you kind of make like an individual box around each piece. And in my experience, packing tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff, the thing that breaks pots isn't necessarily like something hitting it from the outside. A lot of times when pots hit other pots, that's when they both break. So here's the abridged version of me doing that for a private lesson. All right. Next thing we're going to do is grab a box. So based on the number of pots we have here, I imagine this will fit in a 12 by 12. Let's go and check that out. So before I tape it up, I'll actually just sort of pseudo dry fit it just to make sure that that's the right size box. You don't want to choose your box beforehand and tape it up and then realize you have way too much stuff to fit in there. Seems like it'll be pretty good. Mine could get away with a 10, but here's what it looks like in a 12. Let's run with this. I'd rather have more space than have everything super, super jammed in, because we're going to fill that space out. All right, now that we know what size we're using, let's go ahead and take this piece up. If you can, try to always tape it so that the bottom reads what size the box is. This will help out the office when we're getting ready to actually ship stuff out. I always do a minimum of 3 passes of tape on the bottom. As you'll notice, we got a bunch of pots here, right? If you're ever shipping more than one pot, that box, this box right here, this is the interior box. This then needs to go into a bigger box to ensure that there's not a bunch of stuff clanking together. Anything, if it's one mug, you can get away with one box, right? Any 2 pieces even, you know what I mean? I put a box in a box. That's like the proper way to do it. So that's there. Start out by grabbing some of this craft paper. Kind of just crinkle it up like so. I'll turn this into a spiral. This will just give me a little extra cushion on the very bottom. And we can start putting our sort of mini boxes in there, made up of the corrugated. And you'll notice that no part of this process that I use bubble wrap. That's on purpose. Bubble wrap is like A, super bad for the environment. B, it's much more expensive than all the rest of these packing materials, and C, it's cumbersome, and we don't buy very much of it. It's kind of for special requests only. You can get away with using this, not even get away with, like, I think this is a much more professional looking packing system than using bubble wrap, but if you need to, if someone in the gallery specifically asks for it, we do have some. Just use it sparingly. The point you're always trying to reach when you're packing is you don't want anything to jiggle around. If you shake any box, whether that be the interior or exterior box, and there's movement, you need more material in there. So you guys can see I still have a little bit of headspace on this, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to fill that headspace out. Craft it. I'm just crumpling it because it makes it easier to sort of maneuver. Twist, make up some volume. here. I can go a little bit more, so I'm going to. Always err on the side of caution. I'd rather use 14 more cents worth of material and make sure that packages get there safely. Put that up top. So you kind of want this, as far as your packing goes, where it's like hard to press down the top. That means when you do press it down, you're not going to hear any movement in there. It's a tight fit. We're going to tape this up. Like I said, this is our interior box, right? This needs to go inside of a bigger box. So we'll set this off to the side. If this is a 12 by 12, the box it should go into is a 16 by 16. Sometimes you can get away with a 14 by 14, but if something broke in here and we needed to file a claim, they want 2 inches on each side of spacer material to make sure that you packed it correctly. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, this is 16 by 16 by 14. That'll do fine. Again, let's find the side that's got the dimensions on it. Let's leave that towards the bottom. Showing that that way if we need to see it later to figure out what size something is, we can do that. At least 3 runs of tape there. And then make sure that tape is stuck down. That seems good. We got our empty box. We're going to do that same thing where we make a coil. That'll be to lift the box up a little bit. Set that in there as a base. And then goes our interior box. Make sure we got some good separation from the floor to the interior box. Now you're just going to use a bunch of craft paper. It's one of the cheaper materials we use. It's also 50-pound test, which means it's like good and durable and thick. I usually just pull out like from here to where the shelf is, and I do little bits at a time. So we'll crumple it again. And start tapping it in, moving around the box. That way one particular side isn't more paper heavy than the other. For a box this size, it does take quite a bit. We're going to do that all the way around until we reach the top. Got us pretty much right up there to the top, right? So now we're going to do another spiral on top. Like so. And what we're looking for is we don't want it to fully close, because when we squish it down, that's how we'll know that there's not going to be any movement in the box, right? If you can too, try to line up your tape lines so that there's a vertical seam here, vertical seam here. It just looks a little bit better. And if your tape will cooperate, do that. Depending on how heavy a box is, sometimes too I'll come and seal this corner where the box meets. Just to give it a little bit more structural support and rigidity. You can also do that on this edge. I think this will be fine. So another thing we got to do is keep track of what we're actually packing out. This one right here is for a private lesson, right? So what I like to do is start out by for sure putting the first initial and last name of whoever's box it is. So and then I'll put what size box it is. So this is a 16 by 16 by 14. And then when we actually start doing the paperwork, we'll do the weight and figure all that out. But that's the gist. No movement, good to go.